Well, hello, my friends. This is Mark of Mark and Elena's channel again, and I thought I might as well post a second video. I haven't given it much thought, but I reviewed my first video, and I wanted to pick up or kind of where I left off, but I'll be backtracking just a little bit. I had an episode before I left the Philippines. Coffee again. Sorry. Well, I don't know if I mentioned, I mean, I did mention that I was homeless, run out of money, and I was waiting for my retirement to start from the state of Michigan when I turned 60. And so, having that time left, I had a lot to reflect on. And now I realize that if I had followed what I felt was the leading of the devil at the time, and I hadn't prayed about it, I would have never met my wife. I would have never been living in the Philippines. I'd probably be in Texas, living in Texas, and who knows what my life would be like there. Um, because what happened was when I started running out of money, and I had a friend of mine, he was a preacher man in Michigan. He said, "Hey, I got this brother in Texas. Could use someone like you because I have an extension of background as a master electrician. I was a licensed builder, a home inspector before I left the U.S." And his brother, if I remember his name, I'll tell you. But he had a company in Texas that where they would straighten out, they would lift concrete pads if your concrete was cracked and sinking or like that. They would, I guess, drill holes in it and put the foam under it and lift it up and all that other stuff. And then they do a little remodeling too. So his brother was pretty intent on getting me to move to Texas when I left Hong Kong. And I kept telling him, man, I gotta pray about it. I gotta pray about it. Anyway, long story short, the Lord didn't lead me to go to Texas. And I'm going to leave a link below on this video from my website, prayers and what to pray for. And if you're curious enough, you can read about halfway down, I started into it, tell a story about that whole thing. It went on for several days and some really unbelievable things happen in answers to prayer. And so, excuse me, that brought me to the Philippines. And so I didn't, I'd never been to the Philippines before. I didn't know what to expect. And so it was all new to me. And of course, after living in Hong Kong, that kind of acclimated me to Asian culture and especially the climate, which I liked. And so I moved to the Philippines and things just I don't know, I really liked it because I have this saying I'd rather sweat than freeze, and I'm originally from Michigan, and I never liked Michigan weather. I mean, yeah, we get them week or two summer burning weather, but for the most part in Michigan, the weather's not that great. Couple 2.5, 3 months of summer if you're lucky, decent weather, and then of course, spring and fall, the rainy season and snowy, and when it gets cold there. And I hated winter in Michigan. I just wasn't a snowflake. I don't like the snow, and so I was never really inclined to want to live in that climate all my life, which I was forced to. So after moving to the Philippines, I had to take on the saying I'd rather sweat than freeze. Of course, I took that saying on in Hong Kong too, but anyway, so now I like living in the Philippines, and the economy over here is way different than in the West, and I have to kind of I hate to say it, but I've been down on the U.S. because they've spent so much time to pass corrupt governments, uh, suppressing the economies of what are labeled third world countries, Philippines, Asia, Vietnam, Malaysia, all this area over here. Uh, and so they drove, their currencies values down. And so I'm able to take advantage of that, although I don't like the reputation that the U.S. has. Uh, but so now my money goes so much further, and I can tell you that the exchange rate's usually anywhere above 50. Right now it's 56.59. So can you imagine having $1,000 in the U.S. and turn that into 56,000 peso when the average income over here for a local is anywhere from, it's gone up a little bit now, average is 9,000 peso a month to an average local, I'm going to say maybe 16,000 peso. And then if you've gone to college and you got a degree, you can start out in maybe a government job around 22,000 and work your way up from there. And of course, there are those companies that pay more than that, but they're not, they're hard to find. So, so the average, and the other thing is the job market here isn't that great. A lot of the income occupations here are, a lot of people have their own what's called sari store. It's like a miniature 7-Eleven convenience store on their own property. Maybe they got a little hut or a little building they built, or sometimes just out of the window of their house. And so they sell items, all the kind of instant. Over here in the Philippines, because of the low economy, they don't they're not like the West. They don't buy the big soap containers of, detergent and all that stuff, toothpaste. They don't spend the money that we spend. Everything's in a little packet, and you could buy salad dressing and shampoo and toothpaste and most of your health commodities in little packets. It's like what we might take if we were going to travel for the weekend and fly on a plane and stay in a hotel or stay in a campground for a weekend. We just want a little bit of everything, and so that's kind of what they have available to them over here. Now, the other than that, I mean, the regular food items, like they go shopping, they go to the vegetable market. Vegetables are pretty cheap. Um, I can buy 2.2 pounds of tomatoes on average for less than $1. Sometimes the price goes up to about $1.10. But I mean, you're talking 2 pounds of tomatoes. Let me see how much you pay for 2 pounds of tomatoes in Walmart or Kmart or one of them grocery stores over there. It's unbelievable. And so everything over here is by the kilogram, and most of the vegetables. Now, my green bell peppers are always expensive. Cheapest price on those are about $2 per kilogram. It's still cheaper than America probably, but anyway, so just the regular things you want to live on are very cheap. There's a lot of other things that aren't cheap. The things that you would you know buy that are imported from the West, and trying to keep track of my time. And so you're going to pay Western price for Western things, cars, some electronics, but they got cheap phones over here. And unlike in America and probably the UK and all that, they're all open uh, architecture. You buy a SIM from whatever phone company you want to use, whether it's Globe or TMX or Smart or somebody else, and you put in the SIM you want, and then you have to buy loads for it. If you don't get on a monthly subscription, which is rare, you can get, you can buy a, a 20 peso load for a day and make all the local phone calls you want. to other people, and you might get 500 megabyte of data to surf the net and many different plans. If so, that's kind of convenient. Um, I didn't do a whole lot when I got here. I mean, I was collecting my state retirement, and compared to the average, we had a pretty good income, but I didn't even feel rich enough to buy a motorcycle right away or anything like that. We lived pretty humbly for a while. And over here in the Philippines, Westerners, they can't own real estate. I mean, foreigners, not just Westerners. You can't buy a house. You can't buy land. You can't buy anything. You can get a motorcycle or a car in your name if you want. If you want to pay, you pay the price for that vehicle. But that's about it. And that's temporary. And so I did a couple of things. I financed a couple of motorcycles in my wife's name because uh, a foreigner can't really get any financing either. You don't have that opportunity over here unless you're an established permanent resident and you can show them a darn good income coming in every month and prove it. And so we bought a couple motorcycles. We got around that way. I'll put a link to my Merck's DIY corner under the link too, and you can check out my humble beginnings. I built my own center car over here. Really humble stuff. I mean, I had fun doing it. I mean, I just kind of just fit in with the culture as far as my living, the level of living. I've always tried to keep a low profile and all that stuff, and it wasn't until years later that I found out that according to Philippine standards, I'm actually very rich. So I still keep a low profile with that. But so now here after living here for almost 9 years, of course, we have a couple of cars. I actually financed one, but my wife's name's on the loan. If you can believe this, okay? They took my income and my wife's name. My wife doesn't even work. No job, nothing. Let me let me ask you, if you're in America, if you don't have a job, can you finance anything? Heck no. So so my wife's name's on the loan and it's my income paying for it. And it was actually a 1.4 million peso truck for camping. I converted into a camper, and you can see that on Mark's DIY Corner website too. I'll leave the link in. And so that's how we ended up with a new vehicle. And so I'm paying like 37,474 pesos a month for that. We got a 3-year loan on it. So and I was lucky they knocked about almost 350,000 peso off the price, rounding up 333,000. And I didn't really know it at the time. I finally figured it out later, and I think I know why, but I'm not going to go into that. It's another story for another time. Anyway, so I'm just go ahead and instead of paying it off early, I'm just taking advantage and paying it every month. And when the time comes up to get it paid off, God willing, the Lord don't return before then, rapture us out of here. We'll have the truck paid for, and we'll still be enjoying it. Because I mean, this first year I barely put 3,000 kilometers on it, which if you do the math, that's maybe 3,000, maybe 1,500 miles, something like that. So, all right, listen, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna make a couple more videos today, I think, because seems like I'm either talking way too much or whatever. The time's rolling along. So, see you in my next video, folks. And my wife's shopping right now, but maybe when she gets home, we'll get her introduced to you guys and let her say a few words. So, anyway, till next time.